Been a while. I'm gonna take myself seriously right now doing that. Hey everybody, it's Corey. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome here. Today I'm doing something a little different that you guys haven't seen on my channel. As you guys know from my last video about where I've been for the past year and a half and everything like that, life has been very, very different, and I'm going to be doing some different content for you guys. I'm working on being more consistent with it, and life has not really allowed for that, unfortunately. But I'm really, really excited for today's video because we're talking about something that I love, which is reading, which is books. I've grown up reading. I was a reader as a kid. I always loved it. And I recently wanted to get back into it. So long story short, my New Year's resolutions this year, I made a list of all the books that I had on my shelf that I needed to read, my TBR list on my shelf. And I said, in 2023, I'm going to read all of these books. And then I kept going to Savers and buying more books. The list just kept getting longer and longer and longer. It was originally maybe like 30 books. And now it's like 100 because I'm a crazy person. But that's fine. I'm really excited. It is June. It is halfway through the year. And I want to talk about the books that we have read this year. So here's my cute little bookshelf as of right now. I do still need to get some hardware. I want to get like cute little gold hardware, you know, to be able to like open the doors and like actually close them, because, you know, I can't really do that without hardware. But this is what she looks like. I have collected so many things, and I'm so excited to get through my TBR and read all of these books. It's kind of organized. Like this middle shelf right here is pretty much, there's a couple poetry books I haven't read over there, but that's like poetry that I all love, a whole bunch of books that I loved. I was a big Sarah Dessen girly, obviously, but I loved pretty much all of these books on this shelf. I want to go back and reread some of them, but this is my TBR kind of shelf right here, all in the back, all down here, right here. And yeah, these are some of the books that I've read this year. And I have some old school, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes, and some other books up there that I've read that I liked, that I have to read. And that's kind of where my series lie, that I have to like reread the first one, because I've read the first one of all three of these series, but I never read the rest of them, so I have to go back and reread the first and then make my way through the series. But yes, that is my cute little bookshelf. My cats have been eating this fucking plant. It was on my dresser, but it has to live in here now because they have no self-control. But here is the list that I made back in January for the new year. And I've clearly added so many books to this because originally it was just down this way, and it was books that have been on my shelf for a while, or things that I wanted to reread, things like that. And I just keep buying books, you know, I just keep freaking buying books. I cannot help it. I have zero self-control when it comes to books. I love reading, and you know, I have zero self-control. So I've said I'm on a book ban for God knows how long, but I still keep freaking buying them. So that's why the TBR has gotten so freaking long. I do also have some books on my nightstand. This is kind of like where I want to go next after I read what I'm currently reading. Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. I've heard really good things about this, and my friend picked it up and told me that quote right there is me, and I had to buy it. So I did. I've been searching for If He Had Been With Me for so long. I've been searching online. I've been searching every time I go to Target. I've been searching. And I finally found it at Walmart, so of course I had to buy it. I've heard this book is absolutely going to wreck me. Ugly Love, you know, for the smut. And then everyone's been hyping things we never got over. So, you know, of course I have to read it. Gotta get in with the hype a little bit. I told you they eat this. Mick Morgan, come on. Come on. Come on, get your booty out. Come on. Out. McMorgan, why you eat that for? He's literally purring right now. Don't eat it. Oh, good boy. You're so handsome. Alright. We are ready. We're ready. So I have read 20 books thus far this year, which is, you know, a little less than what I would have liked to have read. Unfortunately, work and life and trying to start my own business, you know, takes a precedence over reading. But I still truck through 20 whole freaking books that I'm so excited to talk about. And I want to preface this, some of these books I don't own anymore. I am the type of person that I go to Savers, I thrift a lot of my books. It is rare that I ever buy a book brand new unless I'm really, really freaking excited about it. But I usually go to Savers every couple of weeks and I'll thrift some books, find some good titles. I have found so many books that I always wanted to read and things like that at Savers. So if you guys are book shopping, it's a cheaper, smarter way to do it. And if I read a book and I don't like it, I bring it directly back to Savers so maybe somebody else can pick it up and enjoy it. Which of course means that I don't have some of the books that I have read this year. So with the ones that I don't have, I will post a picture of the cover for you and we can talk about it. Okay, we're gonna start with this giant fucking pile right here. Oh, I cussed. Whatever, it's fine. I also want to warn you guys, I'm going to be talking about this stuff in depth. I will try to mark the names of the books and things like that down below just in case you don't want any spoilers. But I'm talking shit, okay? I want to talk about these books. There will be spoilers, so just be prepared. Some of these books are books that I read on my own. Some of them are books that I read for a book club. I am in a book club with one of the girls I work with, and they have picked phenomenal books so far. There haven't been a lot that I didn't really like being a part of this book club. The first one we're going to talk about is actually a book club book. It is called Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I thought I read that really weird because I'm looking at it backwards, but it is Slaughter. So I honestly really liked this book. It was honestly really slow in the beginning. It really was. I can't lie to you. And it also gives 6-year-old lady picking up a smut book at Walgreens vibes. Just from the size of the book. She's tiny. Like, this is a normal size, you know? So that kind of threw me off. Okay, so this book is a thriller book, and it is about a family with 3 sisters, right? So it is Claire and Lydia and their sister Julia. And Julia, unfortunately, is not in the book at all. She actually was kidnapped and was never found. Claire and Lydia are estranged. They don't really talk to each other, except for they do end up coming back in each other's lives when the husband of Claire dies in a freak mugging. It was just very random, very weird. Claire starts to find a whole bunch of stuff on her dead husband Paul's computer, and among those things she finds are really weird things. She finds files on a whole bunch of different girls, like pictures and things, like every year on the same dates. He has them all organized, and some of them are even pictures of her little sister, which is fucking weird. But she also finds snuff films, okay? And that's weird in itself. So she calls her younger sister and she's like, hey, like, please come over, like, help me. She goes to bring them to the cops. The cops are like, we're not worried about that, shorty. So her and her sister go off on this mission to figure out why these snuff films are on the computer and everything like that. Was he distributing them? What did he have something to do with making them? Like, we don't know. Girl, I'm telling you, it gets crazy. It gets crazy. So he also owned property. He owned his childhood home, and the wife didn't know that he had owned this property, had bought this property, whatever. So they go to the home. It's all boarded up and everything like that, but they went inside, they broke inside, and literally everything was clean, everything was dusted, whatever. So they go, they search the house, they find videotapes of the snuff films, including the one of their sister. The one of their sister. They get interrupted by none other than Paul, the dead husband. Joke's on you guys. he's not actually really fucking dead. And he, long story short, he basically is trying to help the police catch the guy and like runs away, but kidnaps the sister and, you know, is threatening to kill the sister and whatever. And the sisters end up, you know, finding out the cop that worked the sister's case was dirty, and the mom knew what happened and everything like that. It was just really, really, really wild. And it ends with a crazy, crazy scene at the end where they burn down the childhood home and everything's crazy. It was really, really slow at the beginning. It took me a really, really long time to get into, but it was a phenomenal book. I'd give it like 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, we're going poetry. I saw this book on TikTok. Anywho, I Love You by Samantha King Holmes, R.H. Sin, and Graham Holmes. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous freaking book, and I haven't seen anything like it. I love poetry. I really freaking love poetry, okay? I have a whole collection of poetry books, but I had to have this one, you know? So it's a beautiful, beautiful poetry book, and it's written by Samantha and her husband, and there are also just gorgeous, gorgeous photos in this book that they also took. The book is broken up into sections where it'll be his writing versus her writing versus, you know, pictures of their child and everything like that. It is absolutely gorgeous. Hold on, I'm looking for my favorite photo. This one isn't my favorite one, but like gorgeous. It's very interesting because it really does tell their whole love story about them dating, about them falling in love and getting married, having children, and how all of those things affect and shape and change your entire life. If you love poetry, if you love spoken word, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you read this book. I literally read this book in maybe less than a half hour. This one is my favorite page. You can tell I'm the type of person, I write my books, I highlight. I know a lot of people in the book community frown on that, but I like to know what headspace I was in when I read those books, when I reread them again, because I do love to reread books. This poem: on the days when my words are sour, you lean into grace. In the moments when I am cold, aloof, you lean into understanding. The times when I am not my best, you lean into compassion. You always lean in, not away. Steadfast in your commitment, you lean in towards me. Like, gorgeous. Phenomenal freaking book. It literally made me cry. My opinion might be a little controversial on this, okay? So I read Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica for my book club as well. And if you guys don't know what it's about, it is about a man and a woman and their 2 friends. So this married couple and their 2 friends. One of the husbands goes missing. They can't find him for days. He's just disappeared. But the wife of the other couple knows exactly why he's missing, because they had an interaction in the woods. And this whole story is about this pregnant woman who literally believes that she murdered her best friend's husband, basically. And so her husband ends up finding out and helps her try and cover up the whole damn thing. I'm talking like he goes into the woods where they had the interaction and tries to find the body and blah, 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 and can't find him and all this sort of stuff. And they end up uncovering that the pregnant girl and the missing husband were having an affair. And listen, I think that this book was a great, great storyline. I think the story was phenomenal. I really just didn't like her writing, like at all. Like, I thought it could have just been done so much better, so much better. It switches between, you know, the main girl versus her friend versus the husband, like all their different points of view and what they're thinking and everything like that. Like, it was really good, but it fell flat for me because of the writing. You know, like, you ever have a really good book and the writing just kind of, you know, isn't great. I thought that this could have been done so much better. I think this is like 3 out of 5 stars for me, honestly. Good enough that I'll definitely reread it again and see how I feel about it later on. Again, another book that I saw all over my For You page on TikTok was They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. If you guys haven't heard about this, which I'm sure you have, but I'll give you the recap. Basically, there's this government agency called Deathcast. Basically, they call you to tell you within 24 hours that you're going to die. So it's this weird, no one knows why, no one knows how you're gonna die, but you're going to die. So it's about these two boys who find each other because there's an app that you can hang out with each other on the last day that you're on Earth. And they meet up, they become friends, they go through all of these crazy, cool adventures, and at the end of the day, they fall in love right before they die. And it's honestly just a cute little rom-com story, and it makes it so much better that it is queer. I love that. I don't get to read enough queer literature, so if you guys have any queer literature recommendations, please drop them for me. I need to read some queer things. It's June. I thought it was just really, really cute. Like, it wasn't like a crazy read. Like, it was very predictable, but it was cute. It was really freaking cute. I know that there's I think a prequel that I'm interested in reading, but of course I don't own it, so I have to wait on the prequel. But it was so freaking cute. 4 out of 5 stars. Another book club book, which I'm not gonna lie to you, it was kind of a hard read. It really was. It took me longer than I would care to admit. Was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I had wanted to read this book since I found out about it. You know, being a girly who lost her mom, I've always wanted to read this book, and it is... We all know Jeanette McCurdy's story, her time on Nick and iCarly and everything like that, but it dives so much deeper in here. She talks about Ariana Grande, she talks about ex-boyfriends, she talks about a lot of triggering subjects like alcohol abuse, drug abuse, talks about eating disorders, and it was a lot at times. It really was. There was times where I had to put this down and wait. It just recounts her life and just the way that her mother treated her and how her mother wasn't the best to her, and you know, her trying to cope with life like that. It was really good. The voice in this writing was absolutely phenomenal. Like, I cried. I absolutely cried. It was fantastic. 5 out of 5 stars. All right, we gotta go back to the basics. Get a little basic with me. Listen, I didn't want to give into the Colleen Hoover hype. I really didn't. I had read Verity last, like, September, I believe. Last September, I read it on the plane, and I loved it. I know a lot of people don't like Verity. That's a very unpopular opinion, but I really, really liked it. I like really dark, thrilling kind of reads as well. I had to buy into the hype of this one. Everyone was crying about it, and I was seeing it on my For You page. Just everyone and their mom who can read was talking about this book. If you haven't heard about this book, if you are living under a rock, if you would rather put your head in a fryer than hear about Colleen Hoover, I will tell you what it's about. It is about this girl, Lily, who moves to this beautiful, beautiful city to work on following her dreams. She opens up a flower shop, and she's running from her past. She meets this boy named, I read it as Riley. A lot of people read it as Ryle, and that just makes me want to gag. So for this purpose, I'm calling him Riley. Meets Riley, who's a doctor. He's mysterious. She just wants to hook up with her, and she's not interested. She's still kind of reeling over her, you know, first love. Her and Riley end up getting together, and bad things ensue eventually. It's really, really good for a while, but bad things ensue. There is a lot of domestic abuse and things like that in this book, so it is triggering, but she ends up finding out that her first love also moved to the city, and they end up going to his restaurant because he's a chef, and now he's back in her life, and he's trying to fix her life and everything like that. So she ends up getting pregnant because her and Riley got married, and in the end, it's really really beautiful. I honestly, I sobbed. I cried so hard at this book. I stayed up till 4 in the morning to finish this book because I'm a crazy person, because I couldn't put it down, because I just needed to know what happened. It captivated me. But she ends up giving birth to the baby, divorcing Riley, and getting back with her first love, Atlas. And obviously, there is a prequel to this. It starts with us. I've heard very mixed reviews about that. That is actually on my shelf right now, but I've heard very mixed reviews about that. This one is 5 out of 5 stars. So good. I haven't read a book in so long that it made me feel the way I do about this. Hi. You want to talk about books? Meg Morgan wants to talk about some books. Okay, clearly not. He's being rude. But can you please move your bum? Okay, let's go. Come on. Mama's recording. Go. Thank you. I might get laughed at for this one, but it's totally fine. I read Holes for the first time, and I know you did that in like 5th grade, but I saw it at Savers for literally $1.79. I had never read it, so I wanted to read it. I had never even seen the movie. Honestly, really, really cute book. I feel like I really would have liked this book when I was a kid. It was really, really cute, a really great read in general. It was fun. I really liked it. 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book is another book club book, and I really still kind of don't know how to feel about it because it kind of gives me the ick. It's Credence by Penelope Douglas. I know everyone's been talking about this on TikTok. It has kind of blown up recently, but I still don't know how I feel about it because it kind of gives me the ick. So this girl, Tiernan, which, number one, I hate the name, but it's fine. Tiernan, basically, her parents die. She goes to live with her estranged uncle, who, I want to make this very clear, is not, in fact, related. He is a step-uncle by marriage. Okay, I want to make that very, very clear. And his 2 children, so her step-cousins. And she's 17 when she goes to live with them and turns 18 while she's living with them. And, you know, lives life in the mountains and farms and becomes a little farm girl as she's been raised by Hollywood starlets her entire life. And it is a book full of smut. Absolutely a book full of smut. She not only does it with her uncle, but with the 2 cousins as well. And I know they're not related physically, but like, oh, it gives me the ick. It gives me the ick. And it is just like full of that raunchy stuff the entire time, which I'm not a huge, like, I don't really read like a lot of smut. This is kind of like, you know, like one of the first couple ones that I've read like that, which probably sounds weird because I'm a girl in her 20s, so, but, and then all of a sudden, like really, really, really close to the end, it all of a sudden just turns into like a love story because there's a brother who's mute and he doesn't talk, and they have undeniable chemistry, and then he basically runs away and learns how to speak again for her, and they fall in love and have a baby. And I thought it was weird. It was very rushed. Like, it was good. The writing was really good. I was very interested in reading it, but I don't know if I can get past the ick yet. I don't know. I might also get made fun of for the next couple books as well. Slaughterhouse V by Kurt Vonnegut. I know a lot of people had to read this book in high school. I never got to read it, and I've always wanted to read it. So when I saw it for $3, I had to read it. And I started it, and then I stopped it. And then because I was reading a couple other books at the same time, and I was like, I can't read all of these books at the same time. So I finished those other books and started this book. And it is very, very, very interesting. I want to read this book a couple more times because there's so much in here that you might miss on the first read, on the second read. It is really just, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was really good. Like 4 out of 5 stars. It is a book about war for the most part, a book about talking about memories of war and things like that, but it is so much more than that. So keeping on that same theme is Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut as well. My boyfriend actually bought this book for me because when I was reading Slaughterhouse V, he was like, well, have you ever read Cat's Cradle? It's so much better. And I was like, no, I always wanted to, but, you know, it's not on my bookshelf, therefore I'm not buying any more books. And he said it was going to be delivered in 2 days. So he bought me this, and I honestly really, really liked it, and I want to reread it again, because Vonnegut, you need to reread. But basically, it's about this guy and his trials and tribulations through life and everything like that. Vonnegut is obviously a satirical writer, but he is writing this book about this mad scientist and gets in contact with their families, and just it's his, you know, journey on trying to write this book. He discovers this crazy religion, the spiritual thing where people touch feet, and it's very, very, very interesting. I want to read it again. I can't wait to read it again. This is a recent one that I just finished. This is the last book that I read, Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. Again, seen on TikTok, everyone talking about it. This book, I want to tell you right now, is full of trigger warnings. I literally had to continuously put this book down because it just, ooh, it was bad. It was bad there. This is about a 17-year-old girl named Charlie who starts off the book in a mental institution for self-harm, and she ends up getting sprung from the mental institution because the psychiatrist says that, you know, she's okay to go. Her mother comes to pick her up, and they end up parting ways, and she goes to live in Arizona with one of her friends who was there during all the bad times in her life when she was, you know, doing a lot of drugs and stealing and drinking and sleeping on the street and things like that. Like, she had been through so much. I was very excited to read this book, and it really, honestly, fell really freaking flat for me. It was just anticlimactic. Like, she ends up moving to Arizona, finding her own place, starting art, which, you know, kind of comes in and kind of, you know, you kind of lose sight of that throughout the entire book. She ends up going and working at some place, and she falls in love with an alcoholic junkie who ends up at the end of the day, like, breaking her heart, and she ends up moving to New York for like an art gig, and he ends up sobering up, going to rehab and things like that, and they leave it on a really weird kind of hopeful note. I don't know, it kind of felt flat. Like, I'm never gonna read this book again. She's carrying the weight of like her friend who tried to unalive and is now like a vegetable basically, and she's just carrying a lot of weight, and it fell flat. Like, this is one of the books that I'm going to be donating. It just wasn't for me. I'm never gonna read it again. Like 2 out of 5 stars for me. We only have a couple more left. Hopefully you're still with me. The next one was Hate List by Jennifer Brown. I picked this up at Savers, obviously, for $1.79. And, you know, it's very interesting. It was giving 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, and I really loved 19 Minutes, but with a little spicy twist, you know? So basically it's about this girl, Valerie, and her boyfriend, Nick, who went through like a school shooting situation. Her boyfriend was, unfortunately, the perpetrator of this, and she got a serious leg injury, left school, like whatever, and came back to school, and it documents her life coming back to school. It comes back and forth between the past and the present, documenting the school and that day and things like that. Basically, it's called Hate List because these two kids were together, but they were super depressed, and they wrote a list of all the people they went to school with and in their lives that they hated. And her boyfriend was in such a bad place that he decided to act on that, and he unalived so many people, and injured so many more. And it's her dealing with the fallout and going to therapy and everything like that. It was good. It was. But I'm never going to read it again. Maybe like 3 out of 5 stars. Another book club book, A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. There it is. Ooh, this one was one that I absolutely could not put down. It is a page turner. It is a thriller. It was so good. It's about this girl. Her name is Chloe, and she all these years ago growing up, there were a whole bunch of young girls who went missing, and her dad ended up going away for the crime. One of the girls that was missing was like her best friend. Like, you know, she had found plenty of evidence that her father was the one abducting and doing these bad things to these girls. So her dad goes away for life. And so Chloe ends up moving, ends up resetting, living with her fiance. They're about to get married. I believe it's her fiance. Yeah. And it's about her struggle coming to terms with that, always feeling like, you know, she's, you know, looking for something in the dark. All of a sudden, a whole bunch of girls start to go missing again. The same kind of girls that went missing when it was her father doing it. So it really kind of goes to the journey of like unmasking the killer and everything like that. It is absolutely such a good book. It was a page turner. I could absolutely not put this book down. You know, like I loved this book. It was so good. So incredible. Up next, I read What Light by Jay Asher. I was underwhelmed by this book, honestly. If you guys don't know, Jay Asher is the person who wrote 13 Reasons Why. I loved that book as a kid. I still love that book now. It really shaped me. It was something that I used for my like high school graduation research paper and things like that. It was really important to me. So I saw that and I was like, Jay Asher, it's gotta be good, right? It was okay. It was okay. It was a cute little story about a girl who lives half of the year in Oregon and half of the year in like California. And her family like owns a Christmas tree farm, and they go and like, you know, sell Christmas trees and whatever. And she ends up falling in love with this boy who has a dark past. He tried to stab his sister with a knife, I guess. And, you know, like growing up, dealing with, are they going to be able to come back here and sell more trees? Like, is their family tradition dying? What do I do about this ability that I'm in love with? Like, all these types of things. It was okay. It was meh. Like, 2 out of 5 stars. Wasn't bad. Wasn't good. Yeah. I had really high hopes for this last book here. It's called Everybody Rise by Stephanie Clifford. And let me read you the description, okay? It's 2006 in the Manhattan of the young and glamorous. Money and class are colliding in a city that is about to go over a financial precipice and take much of the country with it. At 26, bright, funny, and socially anxious Evelyn is determined to carve out her own path in life and free herself from the influence of her social climbing mother who propelled her through prep school and onto the Upper East Side. Evelyn has long felt like an outsider alongside her privileged peers, but when she gets a job at a social network aimed at the elite, she's forced to embrace them. And basically, that's only about half of the description. So when I read that description, you know what I think? Absolutely. Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl. I thought it was going to be like a more grown-up version of Gossip Girl. And it was nothing. It was nothing. It fell so flat. Literally nothing in this book happened. Literally nothing. Like, I know people say Catcher in the Rye was boring. Nothing happened. I actually really liked Catcher in the Rye. Nothing happened in this book at all. Like, she starts working for this like social site. She becomes friends with like one of the hottest celebrities right now. They're like besties, but obviously they're not like real friends. And it's all about her trying to free herself from her social climbing mother, and in turn starts to become her mother and trying to climb the social ladder. She's doing awful things. She's stealing. She's going broke. She's racking up a whole bunch of debt. Like, her dad is getting in trouble. He's getting indicted on charges and things like that. Like, nothing really freaking happens. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. Nope. She's getting donated again, for sure. Okay, and like I said, there are a couple books that I read that I don't own. It's about 4 of them. So I'll throw a picture up here on the screen for you while we talk about these books. The first one was More Than You'll Ever Know. I honestly was at Target and I just wanted to buy things, but I saw the cover of this book and I fell in love. The red dress, literally stunning. I was obsessed. And it was good. I just can't ever picture myself reading it again. It's a thriller again. There's this famous woman who basically was found out that she lived a double life. She had a whole ass family at home and started a whole ass family with a man who lived in another country, basically. And it's this girl who is writing a story on that. It's giving very much like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo vibes, but one of the husbands dies. He's murdered. And they're trying to figure out who in the world murdered her husband, basically, is part of the thing. And, like, you know, she doesn't want to really talk about her husband, but the girl writing the, you know, story wants to talk about her dead husband and everything like that. And it just ends up, like, crazy with the kids involved. They just don't want to talk about anything like that. And they're like, why are you letting her talk to us? And she's like, well, you know, if I talk to her, if I let her write this book, it's my story I'm telling her. And it's very much like the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, where it's like, you know, I wasn't a good person, I wasn't a bad person, this is what happened. So, yeah, it was good. I'm just never gonna read it again. Like 3 out of 5 stars. I'm telling you, this book right here was something that took me so long to read. I'm talking like literally 4 months to read this book. I wanted to DNF it so many times, but I just couldn't get myself to. I don't like to quit. I will read something if I don't like it, and that's just the way I am. It is I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell by Tucker Max. And I thought it was gonna be like funny anecdotal stories about like getting drunk in college, and it was written by a man, so it's not actually funny, and it's just full of misogynistic bullshit. It was not funny at all. It was not funny at all. Like, 0 stars. Literally 0 stars. Like, I don't know why I thought it was gonna be funny. I don't. And I had never heard of Tucker Max before that, but I guess that's, you know, what he's known for, so oops, my bad. The next 2 books are from the Twisted series, Twisted Love and Twisted Games, the first and second books. I only don't own these books because not 1, but 2 of my friends actually own these books. So I haven't bought them yet, but I really did enjoy them. I thought Twisted Love was better than Twisted Games, just slightly. I just really like the characters a little bit more. I like the story a little bit more. But I love that these series are intertwined series, where the first book is about, you know, 2 characters who fall in love and all the smut, and, you know, they're enemies to lovers. And the second one is also like an enemies to lover, but it's about like the first girls in the first book, her friend, and like what, you know, like I really enjoy that. And you kind of glimpse through time and you're like, oh, like, well, her and, you know, whatever. It's just like an interconnected universe, and it's really, really awesome. I can't wait to read the other 2 books in the series. Ooh, ooh. And I'll even give you a snippet of what I'm reading right now. First one, I'm taking my time with this. It is From Beauty to Business by Kaya Wright. And it is literally the business side of beauty, starting your own business and things like that. I'm taking my time with it because, you know, I'm really here to learn and understand and try to get my business on the ground. My sister bought this book for me for Christmas because I really wanted it. So we're slowly plugging our way through this book. And I just started The Wife Between Us because I have heard so much hype about this book. And I honestly don't know how I feel so far. I can give you guys another update later if you guys want to have another book talk vlog. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know down in the comments. If you have any book suggestions for your girl, I almost just knocked my stack over. Let me know, and I will see you guys next time.